Today's guest is Barry LaBov, founder and CEO of LaBov Marketing, Communications, and Training, two-time Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year, and Entrepreneur Hall of Fame inductee. Let's get into the show. This program is part of the Scene Projects Podcast Network. The Scene Project features interviews with independent musicians, comedians, and artists from across the Midwest. Become part of our community and support local art wherever you are. Well, welcome into another very exciting episode of The Scene. I'm your host, Bubba Starts, and with me today is Barry LaBov. Barry, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bubba. Let's rock and roll.
Yeah, well, a little bit more accomplished than myself and a lot of other guests that we have on. So I want to give you the floor here at the beginning of the show and just let you give us a little bit of your backstory.
My backstory is this, Bubba. I've been playing music since I was a kid. I was in a really probably hard to listen to rock band when I was 12 with my brother. I played drums, sang, and played keyboards all at the same time. He played guitar. So it's a two-man band, kind of like an early version of the Black Keys, only not very good. And then over the years, what's happened is I got involved playing with other musicians, had some songs that were recommended on the Billboard charts, had an MTV video, some songs published, things like that. And it then blossomed into me running a creative company that did anything from jingles in the early days to music and to actually videos and campaigns for companies like Harley Davidson and Audi and other wonderful brands. So it's been a great journey, but I still use my rock and roll roots every single day.
I love it. I love that where maybe the music career wasn't going to take off. You found a different outlet for the creativity and a way to use that and to build an extremely successful career for yourself while never leaving the rock and roll roots behind, maybe just letting them feed and flourish different parts of your life.
Yeah, I think one thing that I found when I started to move into more of a marketing creative situation where I was doing the videos and I was doing these big campaigns is that I kind of thought at first, Bubba, like, wow, I'm selling out. I'm not a musician. I'm not doing that. Well, it occurred to me what I loved the most was creativity. So I got to be creative all the time. So every day it's a series at my company, and this is what we call this, a series of jam sessions. We are jamming, collaborating all day. And when somebody comes into the company and applies for a job, we kind of give them a warning. We say, look, we're constantly collaborating. We're always trying to make something a little better. We're always pulling people in. And if that's not the way you think, you shouldn't even apply here because it's crazy. It's off the charts.
A corporate version of the Grateful Dead.
Exactly right. That's exactly what I kind of think what I do is similar to Neil Young. He's done all these different things. And now he's to this point where he's going, okay, look, this is how I want to do it. This is what I want to do. I'm not going to sell out. If you like what I do, great. If not, don't show up.
And honestly, that's been Neil's whole career, right? I'm going to do what I'm going to do. If you like it, great. If you don't, I really don't care.
Right.
Funny connection to that. I had a friend of mine that was working with Neil as a tour manager earlier this year. So he's worked with him for many years. Shout out to Corey up there in Minneapolis. We're building a great thing in our music scene around here. I live in South Dakota, but Minneapolis was always kind of a part of, for us, that was the dream, right? To get up there.
Yeah.
Barry, where are you based out of?
Well, I'm based out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. So are you familiar with Sweetwater?
Yeah.
The world's largest retailer. I was just on a Zoom meeting with Mike Clem, who's the CEO, and I'm good friends with Chuck Surak, who is the founder. He recorded my band's music, I don't know, a few hundred times. So yeah, we're out of Fort Wayne. I also live in Phoenix for about 4 months of the year, but we have a really good music scene here and tremendous talent is right here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. The musicians, the singers, the artists are amazing.
And that was really the impetus for me starting the scene projects, was that Midwesterner, especially in rural South Dakota. I live in a town of 1,000 people. Sioux Falls is about 90 minutes away. The Black Hills is where I grew up. In Deadwood, we just had the Wild West Songwriters Festival, and inviting, people from all over the Midwest, and a couple of our Nashville songwriters come in for the weekend. That's been 13 years that's been happening, of which I've been a part of it the last 3 as a performer. But I was seeing all of these people where it's like there's no outlet, right? There's no exposure for any of these musicians. We have some great local news programs that will have us on occasionally, but the local radio stations, of which there are very few to begin with, aren't really supporting independent music and those things. They have a few of us on, but there's really no local radio shows. So I really just kind of put it on my own back and went, well, I'm going to be VH1 and the radio and MTV and Rolling Stone. We write for a magazine up in Minneapolis called Tumbling Rock Zine, which started out as a joke, but because there's no other outlet for these bands to be heard and seen and read about, that now it's, been running for over a year and a half. And in the age of independent media now, when Elon Musk came out last fall and was like, we are the media, I was like, oh shit, he's talking to me, Barry.
Right. Well, one thing I tried to do with our local airport, we have a great airport here in Fort Wayne, and they would not listen to me. But I said, we have wonderful original music artists. Why don't we play their music and highlight it in the airport? You have 1 million or 2 people coming in and out. Why not do that? Why listen to that Muzak or some generic stuff? Let's celebrate the originality. And that's one thing, I think musicianship is awesome. Where my heart is at is original music, and somebody that's writing something or created something from her heart or his heart. I'm going, wow, let's hear that. Let's celebrate that.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we do here at the Scene Projects. We have an internet radio station now where we're able to put this music out onto the airwaves. We're just in the beginning stages of that. So right now it's just kind of a mix of podcast interviews and our songwriter showcase episodes, where I've had musicians on stage live in a bar or restaurant. We shared their music. I kind of interviewed them on the stage. We recorded everything. Well, now those are going out not just on our YouTube and our podcast feeds, but now running on our internet radio station as well. And we have no idea what we're doing. Right. Like I didn't come from a broadcasting background. I came from a place of, I'm a songwriter myself. And that was kind of the impetus, was like, I went and had the experience of that musician who's trying to share their stuff, and seeing that there was just a huge lack of anything going on and nobody really dedicating themselves to being about, music. And the reason for that is probably because there's not a lot of money in it. Right. So businesses aren't jumping in and being like, I'm going to make, if I can't make money on it, I don't want to do it. And for me, the money will come. I know that the value is here. I was willing to take a pay cut. I was welding in a factory, making $25 to $30 an hour. And, but I was slaving away 50, 60 hours a week for what? For what end? And now we've had over 300 artists on our shows now, over 1,000 uploads on YouTube, 250,000 views in the last 6 months. And we've really proven that people do care about not just the songwriters, but the stories that they have to tell.
Right. And, for the audience, my music is up on Spotify and all those different platforms, and you can look up LaBov, LABOV, or you can look up my band, which was called Mark, MARK, Urgent, Mark Urgent, and I get downloads. I have songs that are BMI songs that are on movies somewhere, and I'll get my $7.32 of royalties. But I'll tell you one thing that I think is great, Bubba. The bad news is today, as you said, and this is sad for the audience, you just don't have the money. You're not getting money for all of this. When I was growing up, I'm incredibly old. When I was growing up and I was a teenager, there were dozens of bands in Fort Wayne, Indiana, very seriously dreaming of becoming famous rock bands. And today that doesn't happen. But here's where the good news is for your audience. And I love what you just said. Hey, you know what? somebody's got some great music. It's out there on Apple, Spotify, wherever, YouTube, wherever. Go and listen to it. Take a listen to this thing. Listen to others. Even if they only get a few cents every time that happens. Go buy their CD, the literal CD or whatever. Go to their websites, but support people doing something original. And I'll tell you, I don't know, Bob, I'll throw this one at you. I think today the musicianship of today's musicians that I'm hearing is tremendous. Back in my day, I'll tell you, I played with guys who were great, and I played with guys that were kind of hacks. And it was like, oh my gosh, that guy can't keep a beat. Oh my. Today, the technical proficiency is astounding.
And that's what's incredible to me is that I feel like there's more musicians than there ever has been. And some of these kids are learning from, single digit age. I didn't get a guitar in my hand till I was maybe 12, 13 years old. Now you have some of these kids that are learning from the time they're, they can barely wrap their hands around the neck of a guitar, and they're learning how to play it. And it's spitting out these incredible musicians. We do a show every week called Love Noise on our program. We do it live on YouTube. We bring in a songwriter. We play their songs, their recordings on the program. We talk to them. We talk about the story. Last night we had a young man on. He goes by the moniker of Blackie Chan, but his name is Jaden. And Jaden's 19 years old and spitting out some of this beautiful jazzy R&B type music and the soul behind it, right? You're talking about a young man who's a teenager, already experienced, drug addiction and this party atmosphere that's like, man, you hear that in your voice where most people would look at you and you're a kid, right? You're 19, but you've been through some things, and those things are going to connect with people your age and much older like myself. I've experienced addictions in my life, and a lot of these things as someone who's almost 40, and the soul you could hear in this young man's voice is like, this is why I do this, right? Like, this is why I'm here, is to bring up and provide a platform for this younger generation that are coming out now and telling their story. And in a business that is about as depleted as it can get, right? I remember the days of wanting to get signed and be found and discovered, and someone throw a big pile of money at you and you were going to make records the rest of your life. And that was about to be it. That's no longer it. You have to have your own business. And that's why I think someone like you that has spent a lifetime in the marketing, because that's most of what you're going to do as a musician these days, can provide so many insights to not just our audience, but to any musician or creative that's out there now.
Well, when I was starting out, my wife and I were writing songs together. We'd go to New York. We would meet with what's known as an A&R person. So that would be the person at a record company that was listening to songs or checking out bands. And, it was interesting. That was how you got into the business. And if they liked you, they'd offer you something or some amount of, money or something. But the deals were horrible back then. But at least you could make some money. I do agree with you. I think today it's completely different. The good and the bad, there's a lot of both. But the way I would go about it right now is I would build my brand. I would have my music. I would promote it. I would find any way I could. And again, I'm biased toward original music. So let's say you're a tremendous guitarist or vocalist and you can go to clubs and do your stuff and you sing amazing versions of other people's songs. That's great. But I would promote my original music because that's really where you're going to create your brand. And I would promote it. I would work with local businesses. I would go to local airports, say, hey, can you put my music up there? I'm not asking you for money. Can you do it? I'd find any way possible to share that. I would talk to the local newspaper. What I did, I started a band accidentally during a snowstorm, wrote a song that I thought was pretty good, and it started to get attention from record companies. It was not released. It was not a record yet. And I found a way. I went to the local radio station, and they were promoting that John Mellencamp was coming to town. And I found a way. I delivered donuts. I got into their studio. I said, I'm the donut guy at 6 a.m. They go, donut guy. And they go, well, bring the donuts in. So I did. And I said, hey, here's a recording of my band. I want to back up John Mellencamp. And I walked off. They called me a day later, said, okay, if you want to back up Mellencamp, that's great. He's going to play at our big Coliseum. We'll have 30,000 people there. Go do it. You got to do those things, you know? Then I had to create the band. I had to say, okay, guys, you played on this one song. Are you available? And they went, yeah. And I go, okay, now we need about 10 other songs. But that's what you got to do. It's entrepreneurial. You got to do it. And I love any of the original music. So, Bubba, I love that you have a show where the artist can actually say, hey, here's my stuff. Because think about it. It could appeal to so many people because it's not down to whether the young man you talked about, Blackie Chan, is jazzy. I'm going to listen to it even if I don't like jazz. Let's say I like country. I'm still going to listen to it because it's original. I want to hear what he's trying to do. And I'm going to appreciate it just like a fine piece of art.
Well, and I'm a member of a couple independent organizations. The Midwest Country Music Organization is something I joined back in February of 2024. And I hadn't even, when I joined, it was just as an artist, right? I was like, hey, I need somewhere. This looks like a great group of people. I was recommended by a friend, Brad Morgan, a fellow Midwesterner and a guy that works down in Nashville, a country guy that we saw perform. And he's like, hey, check this out, right? If you're a musician, this is awesome. Well, between that and their award show in April, I had started a podcast, right? Was on a few friends' podcasts, and I was telling my story, and I felt like I barely scratched the surface, right? I had so much depth in my story that it's like the only way that I'm really going to get this out, because I was already a podcast fan, is to have my own. And I had the wherewithal when we went to the award show to go like, well, how are we going to, like, we just started this podcast. Who are we going to talk to? It was obviously it was going to be about music. Well, we brought the microphones with us and our little Zoom P4 recorder. We sat down and did 25 interviews with artists at Jam Night. And it was kind of my equivalent of knocking doors in a neighborhood selling magazines when I was a man in my early 20s, right? That, hey, I'm here. Here's the microphone. Sit down. Tell me a little bit about yourself. I'm going to put it out on my platform. And that was the genesis of the Scene Projects. And last year at the award show, or earlier this year, rather, in 2025, we won the Content Creator of the Year award. That was just because of that, right? Because of that singular moment when people kind of went back, it was like, well, who else would it be, right? And now this year we've done 4 times as many interviews as we did last year already. I have interviews scheduled out, that are done and produced all the way into April of next year till the awards show. And we just continue to rock and roll and to support original musicians. That's why I started the Midwest Original Music Organization. Not that I don't love the Midwest CMO and what they do, but I have a lot of friends that are outside of country music that wouldn't join just because of that. Not that the org wouldn't have them, but that they just didn't feel like they belonged in there, even though they probably did. I saw the need to create it. It's just a group on Facebook, but it's over 750 members strong, all original musicians, all original artists who are out there sharing their stuff. We get together on Zoom once a week at 7:00 every Wednesday for some networking. Sometimes it's just me and my partner. And sometimes we have 3 or 4 people that come in that found us in whatever way, whether it was my Facebook Live or being in the group and seeing the post that we're able to network with and grow. So it's been a totally organic way that we've built up this community, and that we are just getting started. These things aren't even a year old, right? Like the podcast has only been around for 18 months, and look at what we've already accomplished. I mean, I interviewed Bill Payne, like my 4th interview. Bill Payne of Little Feat, one of the founding members, who's played with everyone. And even talking to him, it was the same thing, right? It was like, oh, you're one of us. Right. And that's kind of what he alluded to me, is like, you're one of us, Bubba. And I was just like, wow, this guy who created an album with Robert Hunter that nobody's ever heard, that's sitting on a hard drive somewhere because they emailed back and forth to each other, never met in person. And I was like, you're a pioneer of like where we're at now, and nobody knew it.
Well, a couple of things for the audience. I have a friend, Brian Umfenauer, and he is a musician. He's out of Nashville, and I'm going to connect you with him. He runs his own recording studio, his own coffee shop, but he's going on a tour. He booked a tour for next summer. So here's one thing he's doing. He's looking for sponsors. He's looking for an RV dealer to give him an RV for the tour. He's looking for this and that so he can help co-promote. It's a great idea. I have local friends here in Fort Wayne. They try to connect with a local business that'll give them a little bit of money or give them something, but they promote the business. It's really important to find ways to connect it. I have another friend, Cliff Goldmacher, another good person for your podcast. He's a jazz musician, Grammy Award winner, and he works with businesses to show them how to be creative, how to write a song, how to come up with new ideas. It's using your talents and getting into spots. You know, if you're a musician and you can do some great songs, there are probably a lot of businesses in your area. And you say, look, I could come in, it could be a lunchtime jam session. I can have people learn how to play some instruments. We can have some fun. You give me a little bit of money and we put it on social media and we have fun. But find ways to drum it up so people actually talk about what you're doing. I'm working with a Division I basketball team. And I said, why don't you have your local musicians perform, at halftime? And he goes, well, I didn't thought about it. He said, well, I can't afford all that. I said, well, they may not even charge you, or they may charge very little because they want people to go, wow, I didn't know that band existed. I want to buy their music. I want to see them at the bars. I want to see them at the clubs. Use your creativity, right?
Musicians, how many times are we going to walk into a sold out arena where a D1 basketball team is playing to step on the stage and perform for maybe 10,000 plus people in some of these arenas, right? Like, I mean, what an opportunity.
Bubba, think about it. Even if it's a 3,000 person arena, you go, hey, would you like to play for 3,000 people this weekend? They go, what? Yes. I mean, think about it. You can sell your CDs, you can do whatever you want to do. But yeah, it's an exciting concept. It's sharing all of that with people. And I'll tell you what, people get excited. The non-musicians of the world, they get very excited about this. I just did a number of keynote speeches on my book, which is called The Power of Differentiation. And I walk up with a guitar, a Fender electric guitar. I don't play it. I walk up and people are going, what? And we start the whole thing with a clip from Dick Clark's American Bandstand back in the 80s when he introduced my band's song. We start off with a clip. I walk up, or clip like that. I walk up with a guitar. People are freaking out. They're going, what is this? I thought it was a business speech. And then we end the whole thing with my music at the end where I say, thank you. And they give me a standing ovation like it's a rock concert. Combine those things, have fun with it. Let people enjoy the fact you're doing something unique. People are so energized to see someone who can sing and play and has something original to say. It's amazing.
Right. And it has just as much power now as it did when Elvis was walking out onto the stage, right? And doing the Dick Sullivan show. And it's just like, it's not any less powerful in person now than it ever was. It's just been completely depleted of any value in the world, right? And that's why independent musicians, are struggling right now to find footing. I'm actually going down to Nashville shortly after recording this. I'll be headed down there next week for the Josie Music Awards, and I'll be working at the Grand Ole Opry. It's my first time in Nashville. But that was simply because, Barry, I was willing to send them an email and say, hey, I'm Bubba Starts. I have an award-winning podcast. I would love to come down. We have several Midwest Country Music Organization members that are nominated for your award show. I would love to show the collaboration between the two organizations, and they were more than happy to accommodate me. I'll be in their media village, and I'll be sitting in the Opry watching my friends win awards and be recognized. And my good friend Jasmine Kane will also be performing on the Opry stage. I mean, somebody pinch me, right? Like, how is this real life? And exactly what you're saying is that we are trying to seek out those opportunities for our people. We're booking our own tour where we take the Songwriter Showcase around the country to not just film content for ourselves, but to give all of these local artists a platform outside of their local communities and to connect all of it. And the future is so bright for so many of these people. I'm just trying to sit a hook in as many coattails as I can, Barry.
I love what you're doing. I played the New York Songwriters Showcase decades ago when it was the thing for songwriters, and it was such an honor. We went there, we traveled to New York, We sat in I think it was CBGB's, which is a very famous club there. And we performed, and we were performing in the same room that the Eagles had performed in, and the Rolling Stones had performed there, and Bob Dylan had walked in and sang some songs. It's amazing, and it is a neat opportunity for audiences to hear different people share their unique, creative, original masterpieces.
No, and I had mentioned, just coming back from the Wild West Songwriters Festival, and that was exactly it. Deadwood has taken over, and there's actually now a concurrent festival that happens on Lower Main Street called Trails of Tales Songwriter Festival. There was probably 75 songwriters in Deadwood last weekend, a town of 1,000, 1,200 people, just descended upon by all these songwriters. The creativity was incredible, and I really enjoyed getting to take part in it. And next year, I hope to be able to bring all the cameras and provide some production to capture all of it, because what an amazing time. And for all the reasons that we've stated here. Barry, I don't want to keep you too much longer. I feel like we could talk for hours and hours. Why don't you go ahead and share where people can find your music, find the book, and find more about working with you?
My music can be found a few spots. Obviously, I mentioned on all the music services. So Mark, M-A-R-K, Urgent, like the word urgent. You can look up LaBov music. I think I'm in there too that way. But you can go to my BarryLaBov.com and you can look at some of the things I'm doing, some of the speeches, some of the podcasts I'm on, and there's a link to my music there. And you can go to my LinkedIn website, which is Barry LaBov on LinkedIn, and connect with me. I'm happy to do it. My company's out there. It's LaBov.com. So one way or another, you can connect with me. And if you have ideas or you need help or insights, let me know.
Well, Barry, thanks so much for your time today. I'm going to roll actually as our outro. It's going to be our Songwriter Showcase trailer, so you can get a little glimpse about what we've been working on there, and our listeners can as well. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing, making music in the world, and helping other creatives to maybe bring their music out there to the forefront and teaching them how to market themselves properly. Sounds like you're doing some really great things there in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So I can't wait to come visit you, or maybe in the warmer months, I'll come down and visit you in Arizona.
Either way, let me know. You'll be our guest.
Fantastic, Barry. Thanks for being part of the scene.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. I love your energy. I love what you're doing. I sure hope this audience appreciates it, Bubba.
They sure do. We'll talk soon, Barry.
Thank you.
This is the Scene Projects. This is the Songwriter Showcase.
Go ahead, take your step across the Barrow County line. You can hear the truth as it whispers through the tops of the Georgia pines. I'm fishing for walleye. Throw that boat in before the morning light. I'm here to stay.
Yeah, well, we're not here just to talk. We're here to play and sing some songs, too. So why don't you guys give us a song, and then we'll come back and talk some more.
All right. Yeah.
My dreams were bigger than that small town. I was waiting on the storm to calm.
It's been coming down forever. It's the warmth from the fingertips, where the cold air catches, your understanding slips.
Sliding down the driveway, swearing at the snowplow driving by. It's so easy to forget all the beauty that's there if we'd only look up to the sky.
If I could change your mind, you know that I would. No need to say goodbye, the point is understood. You told me that it wasn't enough, but you gave all you had for me. Before we went our separate ways, I can't blame you, I messed it up. Tell me
This day has been an incredible, incredible experience, not only for myself, but for everyone who entered this room. We hope that you enjoy the performances. We hope that you go and follow and find your new favorite songwriter inside of this show. And I pray that this community continues to grow.
The words you said didn't come from above. Used to be able to weather the weather. It rained and I changed. You had enough. If I could turn back time, you know that I would.